Welcome to the Global War Watch Network. Today, we're addressing a really tragic incident, one that sent shockwaves through Bangladesh, profoundly impacting a civilian community. This is a crucial moment for us, for everyone, to understand the facts, the absolutely devastating human cost, and, the broader context of a disaster like this. On Monday, July 21st, 2025, a Bangladesh Air Force training aircraft just plummeted into a school campus in Dhaka. The immediate aftermath, as you can imagine, was one of chaos and heartbreak, with really significant casualties among students and civilians.
And we have some very detailed sources to go through here. Reports from Reuters, the Indian Express, Al Jazeera, and also dedicated briefing documents. Our aim really is to meticulously extract every important detail, every nuance, to make sure you are fully informed about this deeply unsettling event, and crucially, what it implies for urban safety, for military operations, especially as our cities just keep growing.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's begin to understand the true impact of this tragedy, and I think the layers of questions it really compels us to ask. Okay, so let's start right there, the absolute core details of this horrific incident. Where and when did this unfold, and what was the immediate chilling impact, the first moments?
Right. So this catastrophe struck on Monday, July 21st, 2025. The time was around 1:06 p.m. local time. That translates to 07:06 GMT for our international listeners. The site, and this is absolutely central to the profound tragedy here, was the Milestone School and College campus.
Not just any location, a school.
Exactly, and not just any school. It's a large, active educational institution. It's situated right in the densely populated northern Uttara area of Dhaka, Bangladesh. And the time of day, just after 1 p.m., meant the campus was absolutely bustling with activity, students moving between classes, maybe getting ready for afternoon lessons. That moment of impact just instantly transformed a normal school day into, well, an unimaginable scene of devastation.
And when we talk about devastation, we have to talk about the human cost. This is truly the most heartbreaking part of this entire story. The initial reports, which are often fluid in these chaotic situations, they indicated 16 fatalities. But that number, tragically, very quickly updated. It rose to at least 19 people killed. And what really amplifies the horror, and what our sources consistently emphasize, is that these were predominantly children. Mostly students?
Predominantly children, it's just awful.
Yeah, this wasn't just a number. These were young lives, full of potential, just abruptly and senselessly cut short.
Precisely. And the numbers alone, they really don't convey the full extent of the suffering. Our sources specify that over 50 people, and a significant number of those were also children. Alongside adults, they were rushed to hospitals right away.
50 injured on top of the fatalities.
Yes, over 50. They were specifically taken to major medical centers, places like the National Institute of Burn and Plastic Surgery and Dhaka Medical College and Hospital, and they were suffering from severe burn injuries, which tells you something about the nature of the crash, the fire.
Right, the fire must have been intense.
Extremely. Dr. Bidhan Sarkar, who heads the burn unit at Dhaka Medical College and Hospital, he confirmed the sheer reality of the situation. He noted that a third-grade student was tragically brought in dead.
Oh my goodness, a third grader.
Imagine that. A child, 8 or 9 years old,
Mm-hmm.
barely old enough to grasp the complexities of the world, just taken in an instant. Other injured individuals included children as young as 12 and 14. So it highlights just how directly, how indiscriminately the impact struck the most vulnerable.
The specific ages, the detail about the third grader, it just underscores the profound tragedy. It's no longer just a statistic, is it? When you hear about children preparing for tests or just being in their classroom, it brings the stark reality home in a way that sheer numbers just cannot. It forces you listening, to confront the innocent lives that were fundamentally altered or ended in that single catastrophic moment.
And this emphasis on the location, the school, and the demographic the children hit. This is where the analysis becomes truly critical. What's absolutely vital here, as we said, is the stark reality of where this happened. Not an isolated field, not a remote military training ground.
No.
This was an active, bustling school campus, a vibrant hub of learning. We're talking about some 2,000 students enrolled there.
2,000?
Yes, offering a full range of classes from elementary right through to 12th grade. And the timing, around 1 p.m., it coincided precisely with when students would have been, as the reports say, taking tests or attending regular classes.
So, peak school hours. A seemingly normal afternoon, suddenly just interrupted by unimaginable horror. This really raises a profound question, doesn't it, about the very nature of urban planning and military operations coexisting.
It absolutely does. It raises an incredibly important question, one that frankly demands transparent and immediate answers from the authorities. What are the established protocols for military training flights, particularly those involving, high-performance fighter jets like this F-7,
Uh,
especially over such densely populated urban areas?
right. What are the rules?
Well, our current sources don't detail Bangladesh's specific regulations right now, but universally, military aviation has to balance critical training needs with public safety. That's paramount. This usually involves things like designated flight corridors that deliberately avoid major population centers, or strict altitude minimums, giving pilots more reaction time in an emergency, or perhaps even a greater reliance on advanced flight simulators for the really high-risk maneuvers that might pose a danger over ground.
Simulators make sense for that kind of training.
They do. And the tragedy here forces us to ask, were those international best practices being rigorously applied in Dhaka? Was something different happening here? Or were there maybe unique local pressures, perhaps related to the location of air bases or established flight paths that contributed to this catastrophic overlap? We don't know yet. But this incident, it just lays bare a profound challenge, ensuring urban safety while maintaining military readiness. It compels us to scrutinize every aspect of how these risks are assessed and managed.
That's an essential line of inquiry, absolutely essential. But to truly understand the immediate terror, the human experience of it, we need to turn to the eyewitness accounts. What did people on the ground actually experience in those terrifying moments? When something like this happens, those first-person accounts, they bring the visceral terror to life in a way official reports just can't.
They really do. They provide that crucial, immediate perspective. We have an account from a local teacher, Masud Tarik. He provided a chilling account that just encapsulates the suddenness of it all. He described being at the school gate, routine act, picking up his kids.
Just a normal day.
A completely normal day. When he realized something came from behind, then in an instant he heard a deafening explosion. When he looked back, he recounted he only saw fire and smoke.
Wow. Imagine that.
Just imagine that sudden, terrifying transition from a mundane school pickup to a scene of absolute devastation. The shock, the noise, the immediate visual of destruction.
Sheer speed of it, the shock, that immediate understanding that something catastrophic had just happened. And for those who weren't physically there at the moment of impact but were deeply connected to the school, the emotional impact was still so profound.
Absolutely. There's the account of a 16-year-old student, Rafiqa Taha. She wasn't present at the time, thankfully, but she expressed her terror watching videos of the aftermath on TV. She exclaimed just simply, "My God, it's my school."
It's my school. That one line just encapsulates it, doesn't it? The shock, the personal connection, the profound violation of what should be a safe space, a place of learning, of growth, now just irrevocably marred by tragedy.
Indeed. And the visuals of the aftermath, which were corroborated by multiple sources and, widely shared online almost immediately, they paint an equally stark picture of the chaos. Footage showed smoke rising near a lawn. What was described as a big fire emitting a thick plume of smoke just billowing into the sky, visible from quite a distance apparently.
You see that across the city.
Likely, yes. Crowds gathered, watching from a distance, just helpless witnesses to the unfolding horror. Firefighters were immediately on the scene. You could see them dousing the wreckage with water, spraying water on the mangled remains of the aircraft, which was, by all accounts, just twisted metal.
Total destruction of the plane.
Total destruction. And the physical damage to the school building itself was extensive. The reports say the plane had hit the side of a building, damaging its walls and iron grills. It created a gaping hole in the structure, just a testament to the sheer force of the impact.
And the human element of that immediate chaos, it extended far beyond the direct casualties, didn't it? The sounds, the fear.
Oh, definitely. Social media videos, which are often the first raw footage to emerge from events like this, they captured people just screaming and crying in distress. The emotional trauma would have been instant, widespread, affecting students, teachers, parents arriving at the scene, the surrounding community. It's a moment of collective heartbreak and terror, the kind that leaves deep, lasting scars.
It really is.
That's right. These visceral descriptions from those who witnessed it or were directly affected, they paint a vivid, indelible picture of sudden terror and irreparable loss. It's a powerful, necessary reminder that beyond the statistics, beyond the numbers of dead and injured, there is an immense human cost. And this cost extends to the psychological trauma of witnesses, the long-term grief of families who lost loved ones, and that profound sense of insecurity that just permeates a community when a place as fundamental as a school is utterly violated. This tragedy creates a ripple effect of trauma and grief that will undoubtedly impact this community for a very long time. It highlights the deeply personal suffering that mere statistics often mask.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the aircraft itself, this F-7 BGI.
Mhm.
This profound incident naturally leads us to a critical examination of the machine involved. What exactly was this training aircraft that caused such immense devastation?
Its lineage, as you mentioned earlier, tells a significant story about its capabilities, its place in global military aviation, and it raises immediate questions about its suitability for certain operations. The downed aircraft was explicitly identified as a Bangladesh Air Force's F-7 BGI training aircraft, and sources confirm it's a Chinese-made fighter jet.
Right, Chinese made, but it has that deeper, more storied history, doesn't it? Its design roots go back much further.
It absolutely does. It's described as an advanced variant of the Chengdu J-7. And here's the crucial historical context.
Hmm.
The J-7 itself was actually a direct Chinese clone of the Soviet-era MiG-21.
The MiG-21, a legendary aircraft in many ways.
Legendary and prolific. For those maybe less familiar with aviation history, the MiG-21 is renowned as one of the most mass-produced fighter aircraft in history, a true Cold War icon, known for its raw speed, its agility. But its design dates back to the late 1950s.
50s.
Yes. This lineage is incredibly significant because it suggests a design that, while agile and historically impactful, also carries the inherent characteristics and potentially the limitations of older generation technology, even in these upgraded variants like the BGI.
What kind of limitations are we talking about?
Well, older designs might have less robust redundant systems, for example,
Mm-hmm.
or different flight characteristics, especially at lower altitudes compared to more modern jets designed from the ground up with different safety philosophies. It's also important to note that China actually discontinued the J-7 series production back in 2013,
Okay.
but they had already exported this F-7 BGI version to various countries, including Bangladesh, before that discontinuation. So while it's upgraded, it's fundamentally a platform with decades-old roots.
So effectively, a modernized version of a very old, very widely used design. That's a fascinating, perhaps somewhat concerning detail when we're talking about an aircraft crashing into a school in a densely populated area. So why did Bangladesh acquire these specific jets in the first place? What was the thinking, and what are their key features that made them part of the Air Force's operational fleet?
Well, Bangladesh, like many air forces, embarked on a comprehensive modernization effort for its aging fleet. It's a common imperative. As part of this strategic upgrade, they acquired 16 F-7 BGI jets between 2011 and 2013. The rationale behind this acquisition, as described in our sources, it points to a strategic choice for what was marketed as a low-cost, multi-role fighter tailored for the Bangladesh Air Force.
Low-cost, multi-role. That combination jumps out.
It does. It suggests a decision driven by, well, the need for affordability, alongside the desire for versatile capabilities. Across diverse mission, sets air defense, ground attack, even if primarily used for training in this instance. But that emphasis on low cost is a significant detail, especially in the context of subsequent safety discussions.
Absolutely. That low-cost, multi-role description is particularly telling. So let's dive into those technical specifications, because even for a more economical option, these jets are described with some pretty impressive, even formidable capabilities. What are we looking at in terms of their performance and armament?
Absolutely. They're not basic trainers. The F-7 BGI boasts a top speed of Mach 2.2.
Mach 2.2.
Yes, more than twice the speed of sound. That is incredibly fast for any aircraft, let alone one designated primarily for training exercises over potentially populated areas. That kind of velocity means that even during routine maneuvers, the forces on the aircraft, the reactions required from the pilot, they're immense. Maintaining control, especially in an emergency, at such speeds or even transitioning from them, it demands vast airspace and pinpoint precision, which you might not have over a city. Precisely. For weapons capabilities, it features 5 hard points. These are the crucial attachment points on the wings or fuselage where it can carry external stores, like weapons or fuel tanks. It's compatible with various air-to-air missiles. The reports mention PL-5, PL-7, potentially even the more advanced PL-9 short-range missiles. This clearly indicates its primary design role as an interceptor.
So a fighter first.
Definitely. But it's not just for air combat. It can also carry laser-guided and GPS-guided bombs, along with unguided rocket pods. Its bomb load capacity is actually quite substantial, up to 3,000 pounds of bombs.
3,000 pounds of bombs. On an aircraft designated primarily for training, even if unarmed at the time, that's a serious amount of potential ordnance capability for something flying over a city. It really speaks to the inherent combat capability, doesn't it?
It does indeed. It highlights that paradox. While it's used as a training aircraft, Its multi-role capability means it's fundamentally designed to carry substantial combat loads. This isn't like a basic propeller trainer for introductory flight lessons. This is a full-fledged fighter jet, even if it's being used for instruction on this particular flight.
Hmm.
And that inherent destructive potential, armed or unarmed during the training flight, it fundamentally changes the risk assessment for where and how it's operated,
Hmm.
especially over densely populated areas.
Right, the kinetic energy alone.
Exactly. The structural integrity, the sheer kinetic energy of such a machine crashing, regardless of its armament status at the time, is immense. Furthermore, the aircraft is equipped with the KLJ-6F radar system. That provides essential situational awareness for air-to-air and air-to-ground engagements, pretty standard for combat aircraft. And the cockpit, while integrated into that older airframe, is actually quite advanced for its lineage. It features a fully digital glass cockpit.
Glass cockpit, okay.
Yes, with 3 multifunctional HUDs head-up displays. A HUD projects important flight information directly onto the pilot's line of sight, onto the canopy glass. This allows them to keep their eyes focused outside, which is crucial for high-speed maneuvers or combat. It also incorporates Uttara controls, hands-on throttle and stick.
POTUS, right.
This allows pilots to access critical functions, weapon selection, radar modes, communications, without ever removing their hands from the primary flight controls. It significantly enhances pilot efficiency and response time, especially in high-stress situations, whether combat or training emergencies.
That sounds like a very sophisticated control system for an aircraft with such deep historical roots. What about the physical design of the plane itself, the airframe? How does that contribute to its performance?
Right, the airframe of the F-7BGI is based on the J-7G2 design. It incorporates a distinctive, just a unique look. It's a specific design choice that significantly improves a fighter's ability to operate effectively at both very high speeds and also relatively low speeds. It essentially creates 2 different swept angles for the wing, optimizing lift and helping prevent stalls at high angles of attack, like during tight turns. This contributes to its described agility, allowing for very tight turns, aggressive maneuvers, even as it might be descending or slowing down.
So it's maneuverable.
Very. These are critical capabilities for a combat fighter, but they also introduce complex aerodynamic behaviors. Those could become factors in confined airspaces, like over a city or during emergency recovery attempts. In terms of other performance metrics, it has a service ceiling of 17,500 meters. That's roughly 57,420 feet, so it can operate at very high altitudes. Its G-load tolerance is plus 8 G-Naker 3G. That means it can withstand significant gravitational forces during aggressive maneuvers, a testament to its robust combat design. And with its afterburner engaged, it can generate 82 kilonewtons of thrust, giving it substantial power for acceleration and climbing.
And despite being derived from that older MiG-21 design, it's considered quite agile, as you mentioned. This combination of advanced features on a historically robust but old airframe seems to define the F-7BGI.
That's correct. Despite its heritage, it's described as more agile than most MiG-21 variants and many contemporary fighters in its class. But while these specifications paint a picture of a capable aircraft, a genuine combat jet, that term training aircraft is incredibly key here. It really is. It prompts a critical examination of where such powerful, potentially armed training aircraft are best suited for operation. Given the immense density of Dhaka, a megacity with millions packed into its urban fabric, you just have to question the inherent dangers of conducting training flights with jets of this capability over such populated areas.
Yeah, the risk factor seems enormous.
It does, and the fact that it was acquired as a low-cost solution for modernizing the fleet, well, that further raises questions. Questions about the balance between affordability and military procurement and the inherent risks associated with operating such machinery, especially when those operations occur directly over civilian population centers. The cost-benefit analysis of such a decision, it has to be scrutinized in the aftermath of this tragedy, particularly when human lives are the ultimate price.
Definitely. So, moving from the aircraft to the immediate aftermath on the ground. The initial shock of an event like this quickly turns into a coordinated but likely overwhelmed emergency response. What did that look like in Dhaka in those critical hours right after the crash?
Well, the emergency response was, by all accounts, immediate and comprehensive. But yes, undoubtedly facing an overwhelming situation. Firefighters, military personnel, ambulances, they swiftly converged on the scene, reportedly within minutes of the crash. The injured were rapidly transported to those two primary medical facilities we mentioned, which quickly became focal points for treating the burn victims: the National Institute of Burn and Plastic Surgery and Dhaka Medical College and Hospital.
Right, the specialized burn unit.
Exactly. And Dr. Binhan Sarkar, heading the burn unit at Dhaka Medical College and Hospital, he confirmed the types of casualties they were receiving, including that harrowing detail of the third-grade student brought in dead. The sheer volume and the severity of the burn injuries presented an immediate, immense challenge for the medical staff. You can only imagine.
Absolutely. And beyond that immediate medical response on site and at the hospitals, what kind of support efforts were mobilized for the victims and their families? They were suddenly grappling with this unforeseen catastrophe.
Well, to address the overwhelming medical needs and provide assistance, an emergency hotline has been activated at the National Institute of Burn and Plastic Surgery.
That's a crucial step, isn't it? For coordinating urgent care, but also providing a central point of contact for anxious families just desperate for information about their loved ones.
Critical for communication in that chaos.
Absolutely. And additionally, recognizing the immediate financial and humanitarian strain, the Bangladesh Red Crescent Society immediately called for donations for those injured. This reflects that urgent need for humanitarian aid, for financial support, for people facing unexpected medical bills, potentially long-term care, and just the profound economic disruption that follows such a disaster. It's a testament to the community's desire to help, but it also highlights the immense burden placed on charitable organizations in the wake of such widespread injury. It reflects a very rapid and necessary humanitarian effort, both from the government side with the hotline and from civil society with the Red Crescent. This raises an important question then. What was the government's official stance? What was their response in the immediate wake of this disaster, given the immense public outcry and the profound national grief?
Well, the interim Prime Minister, Mohammed Yunus, he swiftly issued a public statement. He acknowledged the gravity of the situation, as you'd expect. He promised a full investigation into the crash. He stated unequivocally that, quote, necessary measures will be taken to investigate the cause of the accident and ensure all kinds of assistance.
A full investigation promised, standard procedure but crucial.
It is standard, expected procedure after a disaster of this magnitude. But its thoroughness, its independence, and crucially, its public transparency will be absolutely paramount in the days and weeks to come. Prime Minister Yunus also publicly acknowledged the profound and, quote, irreparable loss suffered. He mentioned the Air Force, students, parents, teachers, and others in this accident. That's a powerful recognition of the widespread grief, the multifaceted nature of the tragedy, impacting such a wide spectrum of Bangladeshi society.
Irreparable loss. That phrase really resonates. And as a mark of national mourning, there was a significant official declaration too, wasn't there? Reflecting the depth of that national sentiment.
Yes, that's right. In a clear signal of the nation's collective grief and in response to the profound tragedy, a one-day state mourning for Tuesday was officially announced by the Chief Advisor's press wing. This swift declaration of state mourning, combined with those immediate promises of investigation, it really underscores the sheer severity and the immense public impact of this incident. It signals the government's recognition.
It shows they understand the gravity.
It does. However, while these statements and gestures are important, they are necessary in demonstrating official concern. They also highlight the critical need for a truly transparent and exhaustive investigation. The inquiry has to delve far deeper than just the immediate cause of the crash. Was it pilot error? Was it mechanical failure? A combination. It must systematically examine how a military training aircraft with the capabilities we've just discussed could possibly crash into a populated school in the first place.
Systemic questions.
Exactly. What preventative measures were, or perhaps crucially, were not adequately in place. That irreparable loss that Prime Minister Yunus acknowledged, it's not just a statement of grief. It demands concrete, accountable action beyond mere words. Action to ensure such a catastrophe can never happen again, and action to restore public confidence in military flight safety over civilian areas.
That accountability piece is key.
Absolutely key. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this incident, as devastating as it is on its own, it doesn't occur in isolation. It follows another significant aviation disaster in the region very recently, which adds another layer to our understanding, or perhaps our questioning, of the broader context of aviation safety in South Asia.
That's a crucial point you raised earlier, and it's certainly unsettling to hear about such major aviation incidents in South Asia happening in such close succession. Tell us more about that other event again.
Precisely. Our sources specifically highlight that this crash in Dhaka occurred a little over a month after an Air India plane crashed on top of a medical college hostel in neighboring India's Ahmedabad city.
Ahmedabad, right.
That earlier crash, back in June 2025, was an even more catastrophic event in terms of numbers. It killed 241 of the 242 people on board and 19 on the ground. Chillingly, that marked it as the world's worst aviation disaster in a decade.
The world's worst in a decade, followed just weeks later by this tragedy in Dhaka.
Exactly. Now, the types of aircraft and the operational context, one a large commercial passenger flight, the other a military training jet, are clearly different. The immediate causes will likely be different too, but the proximity in time, just over a month apart, and the regional setting, neighboring countries in South Asia, that connection is undeniable and warrants attention.
So we have two major aviation disasters, one civilian, one military, happening in very close proximity, both regionally and chronologically. That's certainly jarring. It compels us to consider if there's a wider issue at play here.
It absolutely is jarring, and it immediately raises that important, perhaps uncomfortable question. Is there a concerning pattern emerging? A pattern of aviation safety issues across the broader South Asian region. Again, while the two incidents are distinct in their immediate causes, whether it ends up being engine failure, pilot error, maintenance oversight, air traffic control issues, or a confluence of factors, their proximity really prompts a broader, more critical look.
Beyond just these two specific crashes.
Yes, it compels us to examine whether there might be underlying systemic factors, or perhaps even a need for a serious reevaluation of aviation safety standards, oversight mechanisms, training protocols across the board in the region. This could involve looking at everything from, say, regulatory enforcement, are the rules strong enough and are they being followed, to aircraft maintenance cultures, pilot training hours and quality, air traffic control infrastructure, which is under strain in many rapidly developing regions, or even just the rapid growth of air travel and military aviation, perhaps outpacing the development of ground infrastructure and safety management systems needed to support it safely.
That's a complex set of potential factors.
It is. It's an uncomfortable question, as I said, but one that must be rigorously asked and investigated in light of these back-to-back tragedies that have cost so many lives in such a short space of time.
So bringing it back to Dhaka specifically, what does this all mean for the future? Especially concerning civilian safety in urban areas like Dhaka, which are only continuing to grow, to sprawl, become more densely populated year on year. This incident really highlights a critical and dangerous intersection of military operations and civilian life.
The implications for urban planning and military operations are profound and immediate. Our sources clearly state this crash happened in a densely populated area directly on a school campus with thousands of students present. This necessitates a robust and, frankly, urgent discussion on the inherent risks of military training flights conducted over cities, not just in Dhaka, but globally.
What should that discussion entail? What are the options?
Well, we have to ask. Should such flights be rerouted entirely? Should they be pushed out to designated, less populated training zones, away from urban centers? Or at the very least, should they be strictly restricted to specific, high-altitude flight corridors that minimize ground risk? What kind of safety parameters or alternative training grounds exist right now? Or, more importantly, what should be established to prevent such catastrophic overlaps between military operations and civilian life?
Are there international precedents for this?
Oh, absolutely. Globally, many countries have specific no-fly zones or highly restricted airspace over major urban centers, especially for military tactical jets, precisely to mitigate these exact risks. The current setup, as this incident in Dhaka tragically illustrates, seems simply untenable if similar protocols weren't rigorously enforced. As cities expand, those lines between what was once considered remote military airspace and bustling civilian areas are blurring rapidly. This makes it an increasingly urgent global challenge, not just a local one.
A global challenge indeed. And when we talk about preventing future incidents, really learning from this tragedy, accountability and transparency become paramount, don't they? The interim prime minister promised an investigation, but how deep does that inquiry need to go? And what will it, or perhaps should it, reveal to the public?
Absolutely critical points. Well, the interim prime minister did promise that full investigation, its depth, its independence, and its transparency are paramount, not just for public trust, but for enacting real, meaningful change. The public, and most especially the affected families, they deserve to understand not just the immediate proximate cause of the crash, was it the engine, the pilot, the weather, but also, crucially, any systemic factors that contributed to it. Were there maintenance oversights perhaps driven by budget constraints linked to that low-cost factor? Were training procedures inadequate for operating in complex urban environments? Was this aircraft type, the F-7 BGI, truly suitable for routine training over a bustling city, given its age, its capabilities, its flight
Those are
characteristics?
the hard questions that need answers.
They are. And true transparency means providing access. Access to flight data recorders, cockpit voice recorders, maintenance logs, pilot training records, and ensuring that the investigation is conducted without internal bias, perhaps with independent oversight. Without full transparency and a genuine commitment to address root causes, public trust erodes. And genuine preventative measures simply cannot be effectively implemented. It's about more than just finding fault in this one instance. It's about systemic prevention, preventing future tragedies.
And finally, there's the lingering weight of what Prime Minister Yunus himself called the irreparable loss. That phrase keeps coming back. What does that truly mean for the community of Milestone School and College, for the families, and for Dhaka as a whole moving forward?
That phrase, irreparable loss, it echoes throughout our sources for a very profound reason. Because for the affected students, teachers, parents, this isn't just a news item that will eventually fade from the headlines. It's a life-altering tragedy that has fundamentally changed their reality forever. The loss is, in many cases, quite literally irreparable. So beyond the immediate investigations, beyond any financial compensation that might follow, the long-term support for those who survived, many with severe life-changing burn injuries and deep psychological trauma that support will be absolutely crucial.
Long-term support is key.
Absolutely. This includes comprehensive mental health support for the children who witnessed unimaginable horrors, for the families grieving, physical rehabilitation for those with long-term injuries, and extensive rebuilding efforts, not just for the school's physical structure, but for the sense of safety, the sense of community within it, which has been shattered. The scars of this incident, both physical and emotional, will remain. Genuine recovery demands a sustained, compassionate commitment from all levels of society, government, community organizations, everyone. It's a collective trauma that requires a collective long-term healing process.
A truly sobering thought. This catastrophic event, unfolding in the heart of a bustling city, really compels you listening, to consider, what are the true costs? The costs of modernizing a military fleet with certain types of aircraft when urban development continues to expand, relentlessly blurring the lines between military training zones and civilian life. What is the acceptable level of risk? And who bears the ultimate burden when those risks become a horrific reality, like they did at Milestone School? This has been a critical examination of the Bangladesh Air Force training jet crash in Dhaka. The details, as we've heard, are heartbreaking, and the questions it raises are profound for urban safety, for military operations, and ultimately for human accountability.
We hope this discussion has provided you with a comprehensive but also an empathetic understanding of the facts as we know them and the broader implications that extend far beyond this single tragic event in Dhaka.
This has been the Global War Watch Network. If you found this discussion valuable, please do like, share, and subscribe to the Global War Watch Network. We really encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments section below. What are your perspectives on this? And you can join us on social media. All the links are provided in the description. Thank you for listening.